welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits.
Yeah. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for supporting my color scheme.
No. Anyway, what are we going to talk about this time, ladies? Because it says to be discussed, and I'm like, oh.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I thought that would have been fun if we just left it like that.
Okay, cool.
So
I knew you did that.
Oh. Of course you did.
Like she wants one of those impromptu ones.
Well, look, I think we could go one of two ways. While Rachel goes and smokes.
Yeah.
This won't be a short chat, I can tell you that for free. So yeah.
Well, okay.
We'll see if it's a one joint chat or a two joint chat.
Okay.
One.
I just got that.
So,
Do you know? I was going to say,
yes.
I had a really good quote the other day. So let's see, I'll throw it out there. I was having a conversation with a client and about how people are learning or remembering or waking up what happens with souls. And what I said to her was that many people wake up, but not everybody remembers. Wow. Disgust.
Your face.
Just kidding.
What was that? It reminds me of like.
I think I'm definitely part of that. I've got definitely something to contribute for those people who wake up but don't remember. Like, I've got a lot to say.
Your face, Amanda, was like someone who's like at the podium giving a speech at that prompt where like then people should be like this.
Clapping, yeah.
I'm so proud. It was amazing. And you know what? That was perfect. Definitely. Maybe not a t-shirt, but maybe like a notebook or something. We could put it on there.
Yeah. Yes. I had to pause the session for me to write that down. I went to her, I said to her, let me write that down.
Love that.
That is amazing.
And
Okay,
so in the simplest definition, is that just people going, there's more to life than what I can see, but I just don't know what it is? Is it that kind of, is that actually being awake but not remembering?
Do you know what it was, and what it was really relating to was the fact that a lot of people are waking up, we're all waking up, but everybody wakes up and jumps on the same sort of train as, and it's almost as if it's a waking up that is sort of like, not wanting to upset anybody, but it's sort of like contrived by the Matrix.
Yeah.
Because then everybody wakes up and they jump on that train of, the earth's a school and I'm learning and we're here and we're learning. But it really isn't about that anymore. And once you really begin to go deeper, you begin to realize that it really isn't about that. And so that's why I was saying that it's really important, like we've all had all of these conversations all the time about really understanding the truth of why we're here, what's happening, and recognizing that the game has changed and that the game is coming to an end. So what are we really here to do? And not all of us are here to play the game of, the karmic stuff and all that kind of stuff. Some of us are here to facilitate the shift. Some of us are here to facilitate the freedom of souls. Do you know what I mean? Of the stepping into sovereignty, stepping into your power, and all of those types of things. We're not here. And that's why sometimes you get a lot of, maybe some of you are beginning to meet people that are not really here to deal with karmic stuff. They're not really here dealing with karma. They don't really care for it. Once it's done and dusted, they say, that's it. It's done. I'm not getting involved in that anymore. And so you can't bring them to that, like, you're clearing this or you're doing this or you're doing that, because they're just not going to have a bar of it. I may be one of those people as well. I'm not really going to.
I think you've turned me into one of those people. No, I think your awareness of me has turned me into one of those people. I'm not joking, because ever since we busted through the wretch maybe doesn't have karma, I have lived my life like I don't have karma.
Karma. How does that feel though? What does that look like to you? Well, what's the difference? What does that feel like?
The difference is that it has released me from thinking I'm the cause of everything. So that I can see circumstances as circumstances, and it's not because of me, it's because this is how life is playing out and this is reality. My perception of it is still my perception, but I think of that as something other than karma. I think of that as a series of experiences that have made up a sort of story of my life in this moment, but I no longer explain it with something that, for things that I couldn't explain, and I'd think, oh, that's just past life karma. I don't think that anymore. I just think, well, this is a set of circumstances, and its connection isn't obvious to me at this time.
Yeah, it's like Matt Kahn has, I can't remember which book, but it talks about how we move from, you know, ego as a personality construct in the world to then the spiritual ego to then sort of truly awakening. So it's why you encounter, essentially, I call it spiritual bullshit. There is so much bullshit. And most of it is to blame and shame you into thinking things are your fault, or you need to work on yourself, or whatever that may be. So I think the real awakening is when you start coming out and you start realizing that that's all not true. And that's actually not who you are.
It's like the questioning of everything, right?
Yeah, but it's even more than that. Yeah, it's like that's, I feel like that's part of the process. And he has some really good, I have to look up the acronyms, but it's like he talks about the ego being in war. So worry, I forget what the other two are. I will get the book and have a look. And then he talks about when you move into the more, you know, the soul-based space. But he talks about it essentially like the ego is a baby, and then it goes through this growth into integrating fully with the soul. Yeah.
You know what that reminds me of? Another thing, we're all great at not responding at each other's memes and videos. But I had someone, Bob Lazar, right? Who, if anybody knows who that is, and I may butcher this a little bit, but he was some kind of aerophysicist, something. He was working with some kind of UFO, out of this world kind of stuff. And he discovered some kind of element, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. There's all these recordings of him where he actually shares that he was privy to some information about how the overlords or the aliens or whatever it is that's controlling the planet. It's almost like when we talk about how this being a prison planet, and how we talk about that things have been tampered with. The way he explains it is that whoever is in charge uses religion and spiritual, all of that. It uses all of that as this container to keep you trapped within this matrix. This is the belief. And I think a part of that too is that personal shame, right?
It's all based on shame.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so it all goes together. And
I watched that.
I'm sorry?
I watched that.
Well, you didn't respond.
I watched the beginning of it. I watched the first half hour, but bloody hell, he was a slow talker. Wow.
No. What are you talking about? This was 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was short. Yeah.
Can you resend it?
This was the Joe Rogan one. Is that what we were talking about?
No, different one.
No. That was something completely different. But essentially, religion was created to be this container to keep us within these guidelines so we don't step outside of it and really question things. And I'll say, even for me, I've never considered myself religious my entire life, although the Greek Orthodox Church and indoctrination was how we grew up. And then I was like, well, I'm more spiritual than religious. But then even within my spirituality, I see myself questioning things that if I were to say them out loud, I know people would be like, how dare you question X, Y, and Z? But I can't help it.
But what if though, Yana, right, that all of these stories and the origins of these religions were never meant to be what they are today in like those containers, but they were just that. They were just the stories. They were just the history that different groups of humans had of their origins, maybe into the planet or on the planet. And then somehow that was used as tools in order to create the containers, because many of these things, the Bible is just a compilation of stories.
Yeah.
It really is. About
It's what man has
of,
done with it.
it's a
It's
history
been
book. It's what man has
manipulated,
done with
right?
it. Yeah. You know, I was like you know, I watched a little video just the other day of this guy who does remote viewing. I don't know who sent it. Maybe one of you guys sent it, or maybe I just saw it. And this guy who does remote viewing, and he talked about one time remotely viewing this planet, that when he went out into his back garden, he could see this planet. Him and his other friends, because he's a remote viewing teacher as well. And they used to see this planet. It would kind of like flash at them. And they when they decided they were going to remote view it, when they went onto it, the planet actually, what existed on this planet was these blue beings, huge blue beings that were from the Vedic system, and they are the origins. And on that planet was many of those beings. They had like extra arms and legs and all this kind of stuff, and they were the origin of the Hindu faith here. And so it's like it wasn't meant to be a religion. It's just their history, but their history has become a religion, a belief system, and they weren't meant to be revered as gods in that type of sense. And what's been created around, you know, you have to do this and you have to do that, and you got to be this way and you got to be that way. It wasn't intended like that.
No,
well, the most significant. Sorry, Kylie, go. You go.
Okay. I was just going to say, I wonder how Greek mythology didn't get turned into some sort of secular thing.
It used to be. So in ancient or not ancient times, but it was its own religion, if you will. It was, you followed the gods, and then things shifted. Now, had I paid more attention in Greek school when we talked about all this stuff, I really would have had a better answer for this. But what it reminds me of is Abraham Lincoln. I live in the land of Lincoln, Illinois, okay? But one of his famous quotes is, "A house divided cannot stand." And what better way to separate people through religion, through race, through culture, continents, all this stuff. And the more we feel I am this and you are that, instead of where we are the same, the more you keep people separated. Now you don't have all these minds coming together and building more awareness, more belief, more of all the stuff we probably could all tap into. It's crazy.
This is exactly what my point was going to be, is that religion by itself isn't the problem. It's the exclusivity of religions above other religions that is where the friction comes in. And then, like you guys, I've been watching some reel, and it was some guy explaining that Christianity was the 15th religion to have the story of a virgin birth, as an example. So there were 14 other religions before that had that story as the primary, occurrence for the person coming into the world, or the entity coming into the world. So I wonder how many of these stories were actually original, and then how many times they have been separated out to sort of chip bits of humanity away from each other as well. Anyway.
And it would be really scary, wouldn't it, for people to think, I mean, I'm just throwing this in there, for people to think that, you know, Mary wasn't actually a virgin when she had Jesus, you know, God shock horror. She was married. So, you know, it wasn't about that.
Where's the problem within that?
Do you know?
Well, that, and also have they just attributed a virgin birth from another religion into Christianity to make it seem more mystical or familiar, or some other reason that isn't truth?
Exactly. Rather than focusing on, which they didn't want to do, which was what they've changed, in really taking it out of a religious base and more into a spiritual base, whereby Jesus wasn't born Jesus Christ. Like I've said this 101 times. Do you know what I mean? He got the Christ name because of the the Christ consciousness energy that he was bringing in at the time, once he reached a certain age and once he had done a lot of work. So in that time, Jesus traveled a lot. He traveled to many different places and learnt and trained. And, you know what I mean? In order to be able to bring in that Christ consciousness energy in order to anchor it into the grids for humanity. Do you know what I mean? So, he wasn't, it didn't have to, but, you know, in order to make it all pure and all this kind of like purity, you know, she had to be a virgin, you know, and all of this kind of thing and all this kind of, and it wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. It was just a high frequency soul coming in and then probably another walk in.
Do you think that that whole Immaculate Conception was, I don't want to say created, but instilled to keep women from having intercourse and like
Well, there's a lot of power in your sexuality, isn't there? So if you
Totally.
can disconnect women from that, then you know,
definitely
there's
think
another
there's
method of control.
Yeah, it's a separation between women's sexuality and their goodness or their godliness or something like that. There's something icky in there about it, as in you can't be the vessel to have the Messiah if you've had something done, if you've expressed yourself sexually. They're not compatible. And yeah, I find that really shitty.
That's some Lilith stuff right there.
I was just about to say that energy was just right there.
And the goosebumps
just about
all
to say
over.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Speaking of which, I was actually talking about her with somebody recently this past week. And she says to me, don't talk to me about her. And I was like, oh, really? Like, why? She goes, she's only dark. And I'm like, well, I don't think she's only dark. She goes, nope, she's only dark. And in that same conversation, she also proceeded to tell me that she is one of the 12 what are they? Creator gods or and I thought, okay. How's that for a conversation, people?
Who is one of the 12 creator gods? Lilith or her?
No,
that this woman was. That this woman believes that she is one of the 12. I don't know if creator gods is the correct term, but what is the story, you guys? That there are 12 energies or 12 people incarnated on Earth at this current moment to
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know this story. Tell me.
We're looking at you, Amanda, mainly.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I know about creator gods, but I didn't know there was 12. That's information to me.
Okay, so
they are arriving.
Continue that thread.
Well, that's
we don't know anything.
They are arriving. But it's very hard for them to realize themselves because they're not arriving in, you know, they've chosen to come in through the human gateway. So
they need to remember
their own job, you know, they've come in through their own handiwork and, you know, totally screwed like the rest of us. But it's taken time for them to remember. And some of them, it's totally fried their bodily circuits. So some of them are not able to step into that. But
Yana, I want to hear the rest of this.
Yana. I just said but, so I want to hear this. Tell me.
Okay, first of all, Amanda, I know
didn't do it.
No, you did not do it. It was not you. You were not there. It was not another Amanda. But I feel like you should know what I'm talking about because I feel like we may have spoken to the same person. Not the one I'm talking about in this story, who has actually expressed that kind of thing. There's something about there's these 12 beings. You guys help me out. There are these 12.
I don't know. I would love to help you.
Isn't 13 the magic number?
I don't know.
I feel like it should be 13.
I don't know.
Right. So I'm thinking I have reason why I say that I don't know about the 12. Am I supposed to know about the 12? I know there are creator gods coming into the planet. That's why I said I know.
Okay,
that.
so when you say
I've met a few.
Back this up.
Okay, so how many creator gods do you think there are? Or do you think we're all
no idea.
creator gods in a sense?
No, I think there are some that was actually involved in the creation of the planets, of the galaxy, of life on Earth, and so and of also the creating of the actual life forms that would live, that would be here.
So
So
let me
it's
ask you this then. Do you okay, so you may be answering this as you're saying this. Maybe I'm just my 11 twos are finally connecting the dots. So then essentially these creator gods, this is their planet. Like they're the god to the planet. They're the creator.
essentially, yeah.
And so essentially the creator is incarnated into human
To
form.
come back and have a look at the work and see how things have gone, basically, is what it feels like.
That's what it
So,
feels like. Yeah. I think the difficulty is that is the struggle, is the remembering, because it's been changed so many times. What they call it, the actual plan, or the actual I can't remember the damn word.
Blueprint.
The actual, yeah, blueprint for this planet, and for many of the planets in the same orbit, has been changed so many times. It's been changed. DNA has been changed. Everything's been changed. The structure of the planet's been changed. Everything. So whether or not that can be actually executed, which is why everything's going to change in a way that, the planet and the humans are going to go through an upgrade, are going to go through a shift, which takes it out of the controls of, say, like if we were talking about, say, like the archons and things like that, it takes it well out of their control, because it's a frequency that they can't tamper with humans anymore. But where are you at, Yana? What's happened? What's happened?
I've drifted off with you
Did
as
I
well.
tell you? Did
I've
I
gone
tell
to
you you're a creator
mantis.
god? Is that what it
I've
is?
got
Did I
to-
tell you? Is it you?
World, everybody, I created it. I'm just kidding. Please do not take that. Zero. Because if
What
that's
would be the
case,
kind of
and if what Monique is saying is correct, that I live in my love bubble, which is absolutely true, I would not have created this, or I would not have set out to create this kind of. Anyway,
No, but you didn't.
I don't
No,
even know what
many
we're
of the
saying right
creator
now.
gods, though. Okay, so many of the creator gods, okay, it wasn't that they created this. The fact of the matter is that there has been many civilizations that existed. I've always said this, long before the ones that we even have records of. So I think we're able to go back as far as maybe the Sumerians. That's the earliest I think that we have, to my knowledge. But there are many civilizations that existed before the Sumerians. We just don't have any proof anymore or knowledge. What happens is that people have it coming through. That's why when we talk about Atlantis, or we talk about Lemuria, everybody just thinks those are just, fairy tales, or they're just stories. We just don't know. But we've got no physical proof. We've got no hieroglyphics to say that, I was here, circa, do you know what I mean? One. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But we have many civilizations that existed. And in order for this earth to be formed the way it was formed, in order for the crust to cool down, in order for it to house even just plants, or just life, or just oxygen, all of that took thousands and thousands of years. So even the first creatures that were even created are nothing like what we have today. And I'm not talking about dinosaurs or anything like that. If people think animals the first were the dinosaurs, it wasn't. There was many different before that, and there will be many different, I guess, after that. Even if we think about things like down in the sea, there are creatures that are living within the sea that we don't have any knowledge of, because we don't have the ability to go down that far enough whereby there is. And when we go down even further to where we can go, you see the fishes that are down there, or the sea life that's down there, they don't even have like skins as we kind of like know it, or scales.
Right.
They don't have anything like that. Do you know what I mean? They don't even have, I think, eyes or anything
Listen,
like that.
They're creepy as shit. And I
Yeah,
don't
they
like
really
to
are.
think about what's deep down in the sea, because I love the water. And I'm like, I can't get in. I'll give you an example. And I think we've talked about this before. My grandparents have retired to Florida. And so when we would come visit, and when we left Greece and we came back, we went to Florida before we came to Chicago. And then obviously, like most Floridians, this beautiful underground pool. And every day we'd go in the pool. And at this point, I'm like 7 years old. And till today, for whatever reason, and I grew up in the sea with no issues, I would get in this pool. And so the pool kind of did one of these, like it would curve. And whenever I'd get to the deeper, like to the middle of the pool before it goes really deep where you could dive in, all I would think is at any moment, a huge shark, like Jaws, can come and get me. And
That's me too.
Yes, we talked about this. When I
We
go
did
on
talk
the
about
diving
this.
board, I'm like, that shark's going to get me. Like, that's how delusional it is. So I don't like to think about what's at the bottom of the sea. Because, like, I know Kylie's like, what the fuck did I sign up for?
What is wrong with these
Hell
people?
yeah.
Like, what? She's like, I thought I knew them, and they're scared of sharks in
Listen,
a pool.
I'm just going to
Totally.
completely ignore the last 30 seconds of this conversation and go on to a little bit of a different topic here for a second.
Love
Okay.
it. Go.
Just really quickly. So I thought this was really important for the Amanda story, because I will tie back to Amanda. Did everyone see that angelfish or whatever, that fish that floated up from the, you know, the story, the recent story about the fish?
With the spiky thing and the teeth?
Yeah.
Is that what we're
I
talking
want to
about?
call it like is it an angel?
Angler.
Anglerfish.
But it
or
also
whatever
had
it was.
sort of death angle or death
so
angel,
it's
something
meant to
in
be
it.
like when we're in a, energetically speaking, when there's an ominous thing, these random fish come up from like 30,000 miles beneath the sea level and will raise up and they'll be seen, right? But there happened to be a photographer there who captured this moment where this fish was dying, but it got to see the light of the sun for the first time in its whole life. And I'm like, how? I know not to go to the light. We're going to turn left, but we're just going to say symbolically, like, how amazing is like just even the story of the creator gods, and then this fish, and it's just rising and it looks so happy. It gets to see the sunlight before it dies for the, you know, and everyone's like really emotional over this fish. And like everyone on TikTok is like crying over this fish, like how beautiful she got to see the sun before she died for the first time. And I'm like, that's so cool, you know. And then now there's like creator gods and who you're meeting and sharks. So I don't know how to tie in the sharks.
Did Kylie, did the story touch you?
It did touch me. I didn't squeeze out a tear. No, I did not. But it was very touching because I'm like, how beautiful to have this final moment of being an ominous sign for all of humanity that we're all dying, but you're dying in the light of the sun. Like, how beautiful is that? That's so touching. So anyway, Amanda, you were going to go on.
Okay. No, but I'm saying, like, is that for real? Because I'm thinking, okay, so I'm sitting down here thinking, why is that touching? If this is a species of life that exists, say, I don't know how many feet below sea level, that is never going to see, it doesn't know about the sun. The sun is not its source of energy or light. It's for those that are, I guess, on the surface, whatever.
Photosynthesizing.
Yeah. So the actual, that life form doesn't have any attachment to the sun. The sun doesn't actually.
And it's ugly as shit. It almost looks like a photo of it right now. No, it's true. It's true. If you no, hold on, stop. Listen, I live in a love bubble. See?
Oh yeah.
See?
Oh Lord.
And
yes, it needed the sun. Okay, I take everything back.
Funny when you were talking about it, because I was thinking how uncomfortable it would be to die at that temperature, because I'm sure the temperatures are much lower. And it would be like being boiled alive.
But this was literally its face coming up and meeting its dream. It was like happy. He was like,
I just think it's amazing.
You think that's a smile?
It's a beautiful example of how people can make stories about anything.
No. There's no
reflect
my heart
what they need
doesn't move
to
when I see that.
It needed 2 years in braces. Not even 18 months.
And there's some of those that the deeper where the sea gets 0,000 light, there's been cameras that travel down there, and there are angler fishes that are like translucent, and that thing on top like dangles, and it's like a little light almost. It's creepy as fuck.
Can we get back to the creator gods and not onto my future anxiety dreams? Like,
I know.
My God, just
releasing this. I just have questions.
How did we get here?
Were creator gods, like, are they the originators? Like, are creator gods the entities that everything else comes from afterwards? Or is there something after creator gods or before creator gods?
Well, look, I think the creator gods were the ones that were what you'd call sort of they were spun out of, say, source, along with all the sort of like angelic sort of beings in terms of that creation. So the creator gods were obviously long before any kind of, say, like any other kind of lives on the planets. Remember, once we all had a conversation about were there other gods? Is God the ultimate god, or were there other gods? And yes, there are, because the creator gods were the ones that came out of source, was source experiencing itself. You see, that's where, these stories, they all come from somewhere. And it doesn't necessarily mean that story comes from, say, this planet in the here and now. They came from somewhere. The creator gods were actually source experiencing itself. And out of that, they went on to create, because that was what it was. They went on to create. So they went on to create planets. They went on to create, say, other beings. They went on to create life forms. They went on to create this. And then my understanding in the creation of this planet, once the planet was stable enough, the beings that came into this planet to stabilize it didn't even, in fact, live on the surface, because the surface was inhabitable. So they lived underground. Okay. And then the call was sent out to other planets, and from Orion from someplace in Orion came, say, the beings of that planet. They came here because they could create, say, like the grass, in order to create the photosynthesis, and the plants and the things like that. Or the elementals came from say that planet. Then those that came to create the first sort of sea creatures and all of that type of stuff, all create the water, everything like that. Well, water would have obviously been there in order for the plants to grow. But the call went out to all the other different places that were already in existence. There were many different galaxies and places and systems that were in place to come to help to fertilize and grow this planet. Humans were the last to be created in order to come in as living beings. There were other beings that were created in, say, what you'd call humans, but nothing like what you can visualize today of what it looks like. Do you know what I mean? There were other animals that were created that no longer exist, and there's no bones to find, or there's no nothing. We are talking about millennia, over millennia. They like to give us the impression that the planet was formed 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago, but then every so often we get tripped up, because you'll see it in history that they found bones or something like that that's 3,000 years old. They've carbon dated it. So when was it created? Yesterday or 3,000 years ago? Do you know what I mean? So the creator gods were that. The story is then passed on down. And many of those creator gods, like I said, may have come out of, say, like the Vedic system, whatever, or other places. Just like how you find with the Native American Indians, well, I should just say the Native Americans, they believe they were seeded by another star system. They believe that is their origin. And all the knowledge and the history that they have. And when they are able to maintain the trail of history, or the line of history that they have, if it's passed down, if it's able to pass down, like it was easier way back when, then the story is the first people can actually remember how they came to be here, and who they were visited by, and what was done in order to change them into the conscious people that they then became. So there was also tinkering done then. But then the story is passed to us, that we, as all human beings here, to allow us to sit inside that karmic wheel with grace and ease, right? And be tortured, really boiled alive. Do you know what I mean? Just like that fish coming up to the sun. Because when I think about it now, that's exactly what's happening. We're told that And people believe when they're waking up that we are source experiencing ourselves. I don't think it's so. That's not us.
It was true at one point, is what you're
It was
saying.
true at one point for a particular group of beings. But if that is the case, we are source experiencing itself, then we would be more in a space of creative power. Why is it that, for the most part, probably 90%, even more, the planet does not have the ability at all? It's gone. And if we had it, then where is it gone? Where is it gone? Why is source on this planet, if we think about every other country on this planet, tell me which country is actually experiencing bliss and source and wonderment and enrichment and in a place of heightened frequency and all of that kind of stuff. Where?
Do you think maybe like on a nudist beach somewhere?
In Bhutan is the only place I can think
Those
of.
people give zero.
Hey, Amanda.
Well,
I
they
don't
might
mean
be
to back up
experiencing some kind of heightened, but it's not a frequency.
I don't mean to back up the truck this much, but for
Yeah.
educational purposes. So you said from source came creator gods and other angelics. Can you tell me about the other angelics, or what the scope is?
See, I don't really know much about the angelic realm other than what we have. It's not something that I've ever studied. The other day, I had to kind of study the seraphim because I had the experience of somebody was actually realized. I mean, I don't think she'll mind me saying that. It was highly likely that she was going to be birthing a seraphim. And so, and so there are different, I guess, what they call stratas, isn't it, of angelics. And there are some that were created to, but you see, all of this comes through human interpretation. I like to kind of come from,
and that's where it is. See, this is the thing, and this brings us back to the whole religious thing too, right? Because I believe that a lot of religions have the same lessons and underpinnings and whatever it may be, but it's what our human interpretation has done with it throughout history that's impacted how we live today. So and it's like I don't even know what to say about it, but it's so insidious. It just permeates everything, and we've come into it and we don't even know it's there. It's like it's air around us. Right. It's like we're, fish in a fishbowl. And so I believe, it's interesting. I've been reflecting on this lately that, so many things happen to so many people. And we're like, yeah, that's normal. Yeah, that's normal. Yeah. I believe modern life in Western society is actually highly, highly traumatizing, right? And I'm not just talking about big experiences of trauma. I'm talking about experiences in daily life, okay? So I feel like we're being dulled to a certain level just by our normal experiences in everyday life that everyone thinks is normal. Well, that's normal. That happens to everyone. You know what I mean? Bullshit. I don't think so. So it's interesting because everything is up to human interpretation, and then it's what we're being told from those people who've interpreted those things over millennia, right? And so when it comes back to it, it's like you try and seek answers from everywhere. You're always up to other people's interpretation. And so I feel like that's where you go, okay, I need to remember what's true for me. And it's not something that you go, oh, yeah, that's the truth. It's something that you feel. It's true every cell of your being, right?
100%. Yeah. And that's why for me, 100%, thank you, Lauren, that the information that comes to me, it's almost as if I feel it. Sometimes I'll even sit up and think, oh, I've got to speak this with the girls because, this is like, because I've just got this information and stuff like that. So it really is about what I bring in, because, like I said, so much has been turned into this silly, like, fairy tales, and like angelics have been used for this reason and for that reason and in this way or that way. Do you know what I mean? There is actual carvings in different places in the world of these, and it's the same carving of these winged beings. Yeah. So they existed. It's just like how we see, people say, there is dragons didn't exist, but how have we got it in so many different places throughout the world within their history going back thousands of years? They have pictures of dragons. They have these things. We don't know what's happened or why these dragons disappeared or why these beings disappeared. Do you know what I mean? So for me, when it comes to angelics, I am seeing far more in my work now. And I don't know if there is also a race. I think there's also races of beings. So they might races of beings that also have wings, because I'm seeing it far more now in my work now than ever. And even if I wanted to ignore it, I might think, oh, I've opened 5 wings today, so I don't think I can open up another one. You know,
That's a
that
normal
can't be possible.
conversation. Yeah. Okay, can I ask you a question? Is there, like, if you could give an average of like what that age range is for those people who are realizing that they may be angelic beings or have certain gifts, is there like a ballpark? 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50?
I suppose it may be anywhere between. Well, I'll tell you what, I have opened up the wings of 2 19-year-olds,
Wow.
actually. I think that's the youngest on the wings that I've opened. But in general, it's kind of like, because I suppose that's the age group that kind of finds me. There was sort of like 35 to, I would have said, 45. Many of them have no idea, but when it does get open, there's that I knew something was there. I knew it was. Do you know what I mean? For me, when it happened for me, I burst into tears. I burst into tears that I finally felt seen and I finally felt understood. Didn't know what I was going to do with them. I don't always remember them that I have them. I remember them now more than anything else. So sometimes when I have to do certain work, well, I open them up.
So you have more than just that halo behind your head?
So,
I love
which
it.
treatment, which Lightbody treatment do the wings get opened up with? Is it the crystals or is it a different one?
No, it's in separation
Devices.
and
Okay.
beings. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not just things get taken out, things get activated. Things get activated as well. Do you know what I mean? But you're seeing now a whole range of wings that
Sure.
are coming that are coming out. But I'll tell you something though, when we did that, we were doing like a session with Kylie, and Kylie brought in Archangel Michael to protect us. That Archangel, I'd never seen Archangel Michael like that before. For me, this being went up through my house, it went down through the ground, it went up from the house. It was the biggest energy that I had ever experienced in my life. It was the wildest thing, and it was there for days. I could feel that energy for days, and now I've shrunk it back down to you know what I mean, to size, to form. But there was a time where people had felt that, would ask the question, are you tapping into because Archangel Michael's energy had been hijacked. They'd said it had been hijacked. It had been, it's almost like his energy, for some reason, had been diverted off into a different kind of conduit, which was kind of dark. But I think now, for some reason, that's changed. I have no real confirmation of the backstory on that. But I saw it that day and I felt it.
Can I ask you a question? And this goes for everybody, because this is just coming to me and it may sound crazy, but everything we talk about sounds crazy. But we sit here and we talk about things being hijacked, right?
Mm.
Is it possible that the hijacking is just another story, another program they're trying to run in for us to not have trust or faith then in Archangel Michael to rock us? See, all of that, it can really mess with your mind. Now, for example, some of us here, we can sit here and you can feel the energy, you can see spirit, you can see these angelic beings. So from your perspective, you may be like, no, this feels right. I see it. I can feel it. This is good. This is legit. But for most people who don't have that gift or haven't tapped into that gift, you have no idea what it is you're looking at, what you're tapping into. So the smallest bit of information that comes in alters every single thing. And I'll say, even for me, when I get new information, it impacts me right away. But then after a couple days, when the information has settled, my body always tells me, no, this is not for me. I'm going to leave it where I got it. Or I think there's something to it. But it's really, really hard because you're always questioning yourself. And perhaps you're supposed to always question everything.
I think that for me, go on, Lauren.
Oh, no, it's funny because while you were speaking, it's almost like, us as humans on the planet, it's almost like everything is gaslighting us and making us think we're crazy, when you're on this path, because, it was funny. I was just sitting here reflecting on that because, at the end of the day, I think that the more we can sit in our heart and come from that place, the more we can sort of navigate the world easier rather than trying to use our minds or like, this makes sense. And I love rationalizing things more than anyone. But, it's at the end of the day, I feel like it's really coming into, getting emotional clarity in ourselves, doing the work on ourselves, and sort of not being then swayed out in the world, having excellent discernment, and then going in, like sitting in your heart, move from that space. I don't have any better answer to that, than that.
Yeah. And do what feels right. Do what feels right. Sometimes,
and know that what feels right now may not be right later, but in the moment it is. I mean, it's like we're, every moment is a new creation. So it's okay if it's different later too. Just like
100%. And I think as well that, like it or not, sometimes we can't embody the frequency of that knowledge all at once. We just can't.
No.
Whether we want to or not, we just can't. The body is not designed that way. So we have to do the work to enable the body to exist at particular frequencies. Otherwise, you will burn out. The body will crash out. Your circuits will fry, right? So it really is. So you may learn this section of it. It's like, for here, we do say sort of like GCSEs and then you do A levels, right? Nobody's jumping you straight into A levels or straight into university. Do you know what I mean? You're going through all the different stages of learning the basics. And then when you get to do your A levels, you realize that, okay, well, 1 and 1 might make 2, but actually it's the root something of this and it's that and it's whatever creates that and it's pi this and pi that and cosine that. Do you know what I mean? So it becomes more intricate, the information that you begin to learn or even disseminate or even remember. And there's all different parts of us that we are designed to, I think, remember. So that's why there is certain information that will come up that I will just discard, not because it isn't true, but because it's not my monkey.
You can't hold it.
I can't do anything with it.
It's not for you, yeah.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's not for me. I can't do anything with it. Doesn't mean that it isn't true.
Okay, you triggered something within me right now, and I want to share it. And it has absolutely nothing to do with anything that we're talking about. And I think Kylie and Lauren, you'll be able to help me here. And I don't know about so much Lauren, but we've been taught math a certain way. Okay, this is 1 + 1 because you said 1 + 1 = 2. You do math a certain way. Kids nowadays, at least in America, and Lauren, tell me if it is like this in Australia too, the way they have to do their math is completely different system than we have been taught.
Yes, I can't help my kids with their homework.
It is wild. And even though the way we were taught it This is how you multiply, this is how you add, this is how you subtract. Even though it makes complete sense and it's accurate, the schools no longer accept the old way of doing math. The children have to show the new way, which means that parents either have to relearn or have to learn this new system, or you can't help your kid at all. And I only have a 3-year-old. I know this from my nieces and nephews. But Kylie and Lauren, you have kids in elementary school. Like, does that not boggle your mind and piss you off? Why would you change something that worked? I know this is completely ridiculous, but
I have one, I think what would be called middle school, where you are, he's 14. I'm lucky. He was born super intelligent and just sorted it all out himself. So, I didn't have to worry about it. And now I'm like, okay, can you help your sister? So
Yeah.
maybe Kylie's more helpful here.
Totally.
It's not just maths though. I tried to help my friend's grade 9, which again will be middle school. I did well at school.
Yeah.
I couldn't, seriously, I could not believe the difficulty of these questions. And it was about information that I had never come across. By that stage, I was 45 and I'm like, not once have I read anything about this. It's not, I don't know what they've done to school. Because it didn't seem tricky at the time when I was there. Well, kind of tricky, but you know what I mean? Now it seems like it's, Anyway.
I don't know. Interesting. Kylie.
I was just going to say, so I'm allergic to math, so Mariko comes into play here. And what's funny is that he has a master's degree in artificial intelligence, right? So he's like a real brainiac, right? So he sits down and shows them, this is the way to do it. And they're like, this is not the way to do it. And he's like, no, this is the way to do it. And they're like, no, it's not. And then one comes back and says, you're going to mess up what I've learned and undo what I've been taught in school. And then I'm going to adapt to your way. And then I'm going to go to school and I'm going to not pass this because I'm not doing it this way. And I'm like, this is why I would love if my children actually listened to me, why I would love to homeschool. But it's not going to happen.
Do you actually want to homeschool, Kyle?
Every fiber of me would want to homeschool, but I just don't like being stuck with my children for that long.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
If I had the will, I would absolutely do it.
Oh my God,
I would be terrible at that.
Dude, we've got some stuff together here.
There you go. I'm all about.
Didn't you get homeschooling in COVID? Didn't you have a crack at homeschooling?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kylie did. I know Lauren did.
Kylie did.
But listen, look, we did things that weren't very, educational, and that's what I'm,
But what's not educational? Everything is educational.
Right. But like, for example, they all learned to ride their bikes during COVID because
I don't know how to ride one still. It's life skill.
Well, you know what?
Do you not?
No, Lauren and I are going to do it together. We're going to
get a beach.
Rachel's going to teach me.
Just push you and just
it's that. And it's also just accepting that it's going to take a couple of hours and you're going to be shit at it to start off with, and then you will end up
and then you'll be fine. But they learned to ride their bikes. That is
which is
phenomenal for their own self-confidence and for their own worth.
Right. But they don't do that at school, right? It's all about doing math in the Common Core. And
it's so wild.
No. And I'll tell you what, back in the day when I went to school, I don't know if for you guys, because I'm kind of like the oldest here, and we kind of did different things, right? But back in the day when we went to school, we learned how to sew. Everybody, girl, boy, we learned how to sew. I don't know if you can all remember that little embroidery square that you used to get, and you used to learn how to do all the different stitches, a chain stitch, all that kind of stuff. We learned how to do macrame. Used to make the plant pot holders, all of those types of things, everything. And I remember years ago, my son came to me and he asked me to, he didn't know how to, the button had come off his shirt or something like that. And I said to him, well, go and get the stuff and sew it on then, you're bringing it to me for. And he's like, but I don't. He didn't even know how to thread a needle. I was so shocked, not because I was thinking, well, I haven't taught him. I was so shocked that the schools don't teach any of that anymore. And that
Yeah.
wasn't even in what you call sort of like back in the day, it was called home economics. Now it's called, oh, I don't know.
No, it's still home ec. It's still home ec.
Is it still home ec? I think it's something, or well, now it's called sort of like, well, they divided it now because they don't teach no kind of sewing. We had a whole room in my secondary school that had actual sewing machines that was designed for that. And everybody learned. Whether they use it now or not is like, well, I think like most subjects, we don't actually do anything with it. But we learnt different things, but I still think it was still lacking. I think the whole school system today is lacking because people have changed and they're still doing the same thing. I have seen ways that I didn't even know that different countries will teach even like maths in different ways. Like I think it's in like, is it like in China or like Japan? The way how they do their their tables or their times or their stuff like that. And I think, my God, that is so damn easy. If we had been taught that in this country, we wouldn't have had a problem. Do you know what I mean? How to do like, you know, when you do like long multiplication or long whatever. I thought, oh my God, I'm learning things now that I'm seeing how different countries are doing things that, and there's young kids, they're able to do this kind of work, whereby for us, it's a whole different ball game. You know, you had to like put it into this and you had to write it here and you had to carry this, and you had to do that. And they do a whole other world of magic. And I just think, okay, I couldn't help. I can help you with your spelling. That don't seem to change over time. But but anything else? Yeah, it's not happening.
But isn't it crazy how much that mentality, like I'm always about the kids, I'm like, you question authority.
Yeah.
You don't like what your teacher says. If your teacher calls me and says, you cussed in class, I'll be like, excellent. She must have been standing up for herself. Don't call me with this bullshit again. You know, and I have said that not in a very nice word, but I have said something. I'm like, clearly someone must have deserved that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you question authority because we've always been taught, okay, well, I guess the Bible says it this way. So who are we to question this? Right? Even though it doesn't feel right. We know it doesn't feel right. Come on, ladies. We know it's not right.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just saying it's always good to have that discernment, to question everything.
Yeah. And to that point, I was brought up Catholic, went to a Catholic school. My kids are in a Catholic school. And I have many conversations with them in the background because for me, I wouldn't say I'm religious. I'm spiritual and I'm pro being kind. That's my religion, being kind, you know. So, you know, there was a time where, you know, we were at something, you know, at mass for a school thing, and it was when they were talking about gay marriage in Australia. And so, you know, the priest was saying, vote no. You know, and two of my closest friends are gay. And I just I just remember that moment where I was sitting there going, wow, like I'm just cannot connect to this at all. So I have conversations with my children in the background about, you know, essentially coming from that place of everyone has importance, everyone matters, and there is no one way to be, and to keep open-minded. And I just feel like if we all came more from that place of just being curious and accepting and knowing that our way isn't necessarily everyone's way, there is no one way, we're all so different, then, you know, the world would be far more peaceful.
Right. And it's coming back to like their own gut feeling on it. Because, you know, my oldest loves reading Bible stories. Meanwhile, came home with the witchcraft book.
Yeah. You know,
and, you know, she's very balanced, right? But even reading some of those stories, she's like, this doesn't resonate because it's about holding the woman down and about the woman had an affair with Peter and Peter left her to go, I don't know, ride a sheep or something. And I'm just like, does that feel right to you? Does that? And she's like, no. And I'm like, same with the witchcraft. It's like, do we need to burn something in order to attract love? No. And I'm like, and you're going to burn my house down. So it's a no. You know what I mean? So we've got to come back to what feels right, because it's all about the remembering, right? And the trusting ourselves that we're not crazy in feeling that way.
Well, you've all had the crystals removed that make you feel like you're going crazy, so you're good.
That's true. That worked.
You know, you're good.
worked.
But going back to what Kylie said about, and I know it's kind of like about being in school and questioning everything. Our schools they're not even built for that these days. They're not built for that.
I volunteer just so I can have a pulse on what's going on in the classroom.
Same.
So I can negate it when I get home and be like, that you need to question that. Why can't you go to the bathroom? Why can't you go pee? I'm like, you need to question that, because if you don't, then I will certainly say, like, it's always like authoritarian stuff. It's like, to me, it's just like, does this feel right? Because you're going to go to the workplace. You don't have to ask your boss, can I go to the bathroom? No, you go to college. No. Why does it need to happen with these young children? It's all these little things, right? So anyway, this is clearly what I get fired up about. Right?
Same.
Yeah, but does that happen? Because are we going to have viewers that are teachers that are going to come on and say, well, if we had everybody getting up out of class and going off to the toilet every 5 minutes or whenever,
I was about to say,
then it means we don't get to teach. Do you know what I mean?
I think that
been very exciting.
And full respect to teachers, because I think they do have a tough job. Yeah,
they do. Yeah, they do. Do you know what I mean? Or am I going to spend all my teaching time going and finding somebody in the loo? Because you know what I mean. So hang on a minute, I just need to go and retrieve, John Paul from the toilets. Do you know what I mean? We have no idea why John Paul's he's gone to the toilet. He's been gone 5 minutes.
But
nobody knew he was going to do a number 2.
Like everything, there's a balance.
So,
there's a balance.
There is a balance. So there is a health in it. There is a healthy questioning of authority. It's not just bowing down. And I'm totally going to misquote this, and I might have misquoted this before, but Regina Meredith, who does a lot of interviews on Gaia, on her show Open Minds, there was she said something to the effect of, honor everyone but bow to no one. So I really, and I know she said it in a different way, but like, that's my version. And I really, thank you. But yeah, I really love that, because as I honor everybody, that is, but I don't have to bow or succumb or agree or do any of those things. We can coexist, and we don't have to have any kind of impact on each other if we're both in our sovereignty, right? That's what it's about. Yeah. Worry about yourself.
Yeah. Cool.
I love that. I like to worry just about myself and my 3-year-old.
No, focus on you, I guess, is what I should say. Not like worry about yourself, but focus. No. Bring the focus back in. Bring it inward. Yeah. And that's not to do the spiritual bullshit, blaming, shaming stuff. That is to just internally reflect, be aware, get curious, and where is your heart? And are you sitting in it, or has your heart left the room? Like, where is your heart?
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sitting on
like that. I like that. I like that. But I was just going to throw in here on the back of what Lauren said, like, we give credence to so much stuff. Has anybody seen, I haven't watched all of it, but my daughter has been told me a lot about it. I have started watching it. That new film called Conclave. It's about how they select the new pope.
Oh, no, I haven't.
It's got Ralph Fiennes. It is crazy.
Yeah.
How it's done, and the amount of different voting systems they have to go through, and everybody's out for themselves, and everybody's got an agenda, and and then they have to go through it all again, and then and then they're trying to convince another group, and it is mad. It is absolutely wild. And these are humans, and they're actually voting for somebody who they think is the right hand man to say God. Everything comes down through the Pope. He's been appointed, and if he's been appointed by God, then what are all these people doing?
Right.
It's crazy. And everybody still goes there and stands and waits for this bullshit to come, this announcement, decision, when I just think it's wild.
Not only that, and Lauren is a Catholic. You'll let me know.
Catholic,
yes. But I mean, we don't have a pope, so I don't know this. But when I heard this, I lost my mind. It is believed that when somebody becomes a pope, that they are like they're sin free. They're absolved of all they're the only human that is without sin. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, no, thanks.
You know what?
No.
I think that going through, you know, Catholic schooling and everything, I'm pretty sure I was taking it all in so I could, you know, write my exams and pass them all and, you know, whatever. But it was like I knew it wasn't true as I was doing it. So I always had that awareness that of like, I didn't buy it for a second. It's not to mean some things didn't affect me. And,
Sure.
you know, there are some good parts. You know, I'm not poo-pooing anything.
100%.
But it's like I knew there was so much more and that it wasn't necessarily quote unquote gospel, you know.
Yeah, it blows my mind that somebody has the ego enough to say everyone on this planet is with sin except me. And the people go along with it. And I'm just like, how?
I know, but it's interesting because we see a lot of our spiritual teachers that way, right? I think initially when you're in this world, so it translates over, right?
Correct.
It translates over.
Yes, yes. It kind of bleeds out everywhere. It goes into everything. But the fact of the matter is that this person who is without sin was actually picked by sinful people.
Totally.
Where's the sense in it?
Totally. And none of us were born perfect. None of us were born without flaw, without, you know, screwing up in some form of fashion, right? Everybody's got their shit. I think we can all unanimously say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
100%.
Are you claiming then that you're the one person who lived their entire life a certain way? It just like, I just can't.
No, you didn't live your entire life. No, you now get completely and totally absolved of all of your sins.
That's wild.
And I've put you there. I chose you. I didn't choose me.
That's wild.
If that was me, I'd be like, oh, I'd like a dose of that. If that's the case, if all of this is about like, you know, I'd like a dose of that. Choose me. But it is wild. But, you know, it's all different things, isn't it? Within all different foundations. But it isn't just about religion. It is to do with also spirituality as well, because, you know, as we saw in the other episode that we did with like Monique, you know, she spoke about, in a sense, the spiritual drain from an actual spiritual person. And there are lots of times where you come across people that are doing this work or the work that we're doing, and it's very questionable. It's very questionable.
Financial gain.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is she's actually the one who shared this beautiful story with, well, not beautiful, but this story about how one of her teachers was that person where they had built this huge empire. They had this system working for them, all the wealth. She goes, you walked into the presence of this woman and you were just like, oh my God, like I want what she's got energetically. And she goes, the more of the inner circle I got into, the more I realized, wait a minute, this is not how it's meant to be. She is not doing the right thing. She's not living in a space of good energy, let's just say. And even with all the benefits that Monique was receiving, she was like, no, thanks. I'm out of here. Like this, I will not be a part of this kind of thing. And I admire that about her so much, because for most people, it'd be very easy to stay in that space where you're gaining a lot from being there. But for her, she was just like, no.
Yeah, it's a toxic place to be.
Very, very much so. And that's why it's really important. As my first spiritual teacher taught me, she said to me, don't put me on a pedestal. I'll be the first one to disappoint you. And I remember when I heard that, being
I love that.
Oh, yep. How can you say that? But no, it's absolutely true. It's but that goes for everybody in our lives. How many friendships have you had where something happened and you were disappointed? And you're like, how could this happen? Like, how could this person do X, Y, and Z? How could this experience play out? And it does. But whose fault is it? The person who did something, or you for thinking that that could never happen to you?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's so tough.
Yeah. I tell you what, when you say that, I also think what comes to mind is also, when you have those sort of like, not just religion, but also like there are lots of like sort of like spiritual groups whereby, tithing is supposed to be the thing, you're supposed to tithe like 1/10 of your income or seven. Tithing the fudge off. Why am I giving you? And I'm supposed to, and then they'll guilt you about it. People say, well, why wouldn't you tithe to, stuff like that? Why would I tithe? Why am I giving you 1/10 of, well, I don't care if it's 1% of my earning. Who, for what, for why? Because no, don't get me started. That's a whole other episode.
Okay, listen.
I think what's key is, are you being made to feel shameful about something, right? That is, that is just part of who you are, or what you should be doing is should in the equation, right? If you're being made to feel shameful about not tithing or not doing, just like sit with that for a minute, just question it. Really, where's that shame coming from?
Do you guys know the saying, money is the root of all evil? Anybody know where it originated from?
I think I don't remember.
I don't remember
the Catholic Church. It was, they started this whole money is the root of all evil. And so you should, you call it tithing. You should donate most of your income to the church, because that is good for your soul and it helps you. I mean, Scientology is huge known for that. Again, whole other conversation.
Yeah. And I mean, I donate to charities that I care about. Absolutely. But I don't do it because I should. I do it because I want to. Yeah. And, it's a different thing.
But do you remember? Because I used to go to church when I was a kid and stuff like that. And even when I was young, even I was older, I got baptized. I got spiritually baptized in the sea when I was in my early 20s. When that bowl used to come round.
Yeah, the basket.
The basket, or the whatever comes round, and you've got to put money in it, or even now when I go to sort of like churches, they've kind of stopped doing it now, whereby, so like if you go to church for, say, a funeral, even happens at funerals, whereby you'll go to a church for somebody's funeral and the bowl comes out and it gets passed around for tithing. I think to myself, I don't even go to this church. What am I tithing for? What am I giving you my money for? And I don't care. I don't want to, but you feel kind of shamed because there's other people next to you doing it and you're like sort of like passing it past you and skipping it. And like, it's like you almost want to say, I put some in at the beginning when it was up at the top. I've already put mine in. Yeah. I put it in at the top. Yeah. I'm
okay.
All right.
One time
you can put.
I had baptized my goddaughter. And so in the Greek tradition, when you get baptized on a Sunday, and then for the next 3 Sundays, you are to take like the baptismal candle to church with, the parents, the godchild. And then the 3rd Sunday, you leave it there. And so me and my girlfriend with her baby, we were in the crying room because she was being fussy and she needed to eat. And I remember, you could see there's glass windows, right? You could see inside the church. And, it was twice they passed the basket. And I kid you not, I say to her as a joke, if they bring that basket in here.
you should put some breast milk in it.
And they're coming around and I was like flabbergasted because I thought, you've got mothers in here who are trying to deal with their children who will want to play and want to get out of there and want to just be kids who are crying, changing diapers, feeding them. And you want them to stop doing that to give you $1? Lost my shit. I was like, this is why I can't do this. I want to give it to you because I want to give it to you, not because you're saying in order for me to come into the house of God, I have to give you money. That's a problem for me. Okay.
Or people have a direct debit where they tithe to the church. It comes out of their wages every month. They have a direct debit.
No.
Can I play devil's advocate here for a second? So
Yes.
I was triggered like no other, just so you know, and I'm really behaving myself about the tithing thing and the thing or whatever the hell it's called. But I do have to make a note of, is there, so at the end of the day, so I have been recently in the last like 10 years baptized as Serbian Orthodox, right? But for me, I somewhat get something out of the service. So is it an exchange of energy at this point, you know? And I always think of it like there's a little bit of like, okay, I will donate. I'll put like $5, but there's no way I'm giving you anything beyond that. To me, now it's, you know, I don't want to, you know, do your third house in Florida or your beach house in Florida, right?
That's big.
Right. So I want to acknowledge the importance of there being exchange of energy, because I think that then, I don't want to say karmic, you know, because we don't believe in that, apparently, you know. But there's got to be some sort of exchange, right?
Yeah. Very cool.
So let me say it to you like this.
Uh-oh.
I don't.
Oh no. Oh no. I'm sorry, Amanda.
I'm listening. Let's go.
Right. It is my belief or understanding that anybody who is working as, say, a registered, whether it's a vicar or a pastor or a priest or whatever, is paid by the government. They have a salary, do they not? They have to have a salary.
They're not paid by the government. They're paid by
or paid by the diocese, or was it?
The diocese or the head parish.
So they are paid. They have a salary, right?
A nice salary.
Right. And a nice salary. And so in order to keep the lights on in that church or in that whatever it is, unless it's a private community church, that is all paid for, everything, yeah? So
but I think that money comes from donations that people make.
Correct.
No, I don't think my dollar
keep the lights on
or break them. Yes.
To keep the lights on, to buy the candles.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's because I've seen the financials of the church I go to, right? So I see the breakdowns. I see the salary of the priest, which comes from the head pubar in Serbia, right? And then everything else that comes in is to keep the lights on, because his salary is not paying to keep the lights on. That's got to come from someone.
It's not.
So that's why some people don't have elaborate buildings. Some people have secondary purposes for their churches, like we have a hall. So they rent it out for quinceañeras and whatever. Yeah, and whatever. So
Slava,
I think it might be different across different, you know, religions or locations, and, you know, unique.
And I'm definitely not coming to the defense of any church about money at all. But there's a lot of, like, my best friend works in the NGO sector and homelessness, and there is a lot of church action in that. And what I mean is it's church organisations, and they really do good work. It's not that they do a lot of good work.
Yeah.
No. I was
for people to be employed, you know. But just by the way, Catholic Church honestly reminds me of everything else. It is a property development industry masquerading as a religion. Just like
it's one of the most
supermarket chains.
It's one of the most richest organizations.
Yeah, but it's all property. It's property and investment.
Well, I think it's the richest.
It is
entity. Yeah, the Catholic
entity. Yeah. Correct.
And here's the thing, like you, Kylie, I get stuff out of the service too, like whenever I've gone. What triggers me is then you have some priests who go, God's an all-loving God. I agree. God is accepting of all. I agree. But if you don't come to church every Sunday, then when you get to those pearly gates, God's not going to recognize you because you didn't come and spend time with him. And then I'm like, hold on a second. God's with me when I'm at home, when I'm driving in my car, when I'm going to dinner. I don't need to be in this physical space to be in the presence of God, or for God to
know. Do priests actually say that though?
Yes.
Do they
yes, they do.
And
they do.
I was pregnant when I heard it. And I remember John at the time holding me back. Because he's like, he knew I was going to storm out, because it's not okay. You're messing with people's minds. I don't like that. I don't like that.
And then, but that is what man has done
100%.
with
That's what we
religion.
were talking about. Yeah, we
100%.
come back
So
to
just
that.
like, I think when we were talking about Monique, she's like, there are people that use things for good and people that use gifts for bad. So it's exactly the same thing.
Yep.
And that's why I keep coming back to where's your heart?
Yeah.
Where's the intention?
Totally.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story about when I was at in my late teens and early 20s. I used to go to a spiritual Baptist church, and everybody had a role or a post, and there was a lady there. She was the treasurer, so all the money that came in would go to her, and people used to put some serious money inside that bowl. But one day she was at the church because our first youth group came out of that church, and she had put her bag down on the counter, and I saw all these spiders, tiny little money spiders, in and out of her bag, crawling all around her bag, stuff like that. And I was like, "Oh my God, you've got spiders in your bag!" And she just went, "Yeah, don't worry about it, don't worry about it." When I went home and told my mum said, "Yeah, they're money spiders." The woman was rich as hell. They're called money spiders. They're tiny money
Money
spiders.
spiders.
Money spiders. They were crawling all in and out of her bag, all over her bag, and it was contained to her bag. It wasn't like all over the counter. It was contained to her bag. I saw this with my
Is a
own
money spider
eyes.
a money spider as opposed to a normal
Yes,
spider?
they're money spiders. No, it's what their name is. They're money spiders. They bring money. They
Is this
bring
a
things.
physical spider?
Or an
It's a physical
energetic
spider.
spider.
It's
What did you
physical
see?
spiders. No. It's physical, proper physical. They're really tiny. They look like little mites, but they're little tiny little spiders. But you can see them quite clearly. There were millions. They were crawling all over her bag. But my mum had always said she's the richest, well, it's not richest bucket, but she's the richest person in town. She was the richest. She had all this property, but she was the treasurer of the church. But my mum would always say she was as rich as hell. But she had all, and I saw it with my own eyes, she had all these money spiders crawling all over her bag. I couldn't do it because I don't like spiders, but she must have obviously got money spiders from somewhere.
Oh, you mean I can recruit spiders to make me money? Hold on.
Yes, because they spin. Spiders
no.
can spin. They can spin like a cycle. They can weave things into being. But she had them. I saw it with my own eyes. It's not my spiritual eyes, my third eye, my fourth eye. I saw it with my own physical 3D eyes, spiders crawling all over her bag. But when I said it to her, "Oh my God, you've got spiders. There's a spider." Well, I said, first of all, I said, "There's spiders in your bag." And she just looked at me and she just went, "Don't worry about it. It's okay."
Oh my God, I've gone through a roller coaster of emotions.
I'm pleased that spiders are fighting back any way they can.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, I saw it.
Pro
I saw
spider.
it. Money spiders. Yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't
All
got the heart to do that. But anyway. What's it called? I don't know, a fun little topic there. Money spiders, but there you are.
Yeah, that is.
Diana, wrap this up.
Yes, okay. I'm wrapping this up. Lauren, do you have something lovely to share with us?
I have something that I would like to read. Okay.
I bet
It's called
about
Without
money
You.
Spiders. She wrote it.
I've not. I haven't written that one yet. It's called Without You, I Would Not Be. Okay.
Oh,
We
nice.
each have our truth, and that truth is born from our individual experience and perception. Like each snowflake that falls, a unique and intricate expression. We each have our own lens that colors our life and carries our attention. And in the same breath, we are two sides of the very same coin. At the core, we are one in the same. We only differ in our expression. I could not exist without you, and you not without me. We each have our own way of seeing the world, but without you, I cannot see. We are all needed in this world to colour in and around the lines, the light, the dark, all of the hues, the magnificence in between. This is our very reason for coming into being. We came here to experience, to love, to cry, to feel, to know the full spectrum of emotion, to do the work, to want to heal. When all feels lost inside and your hope has faded to grey, when your blood is boiling, skin recoiling, and tears fall day after day, when you have had enough and you are holding your heart bleeding, take my hand and follow me. It is your beauty that I am seeing. I see an infinite sky of 1,000 million stars, and I thank the challenges that broke you down and ripped you wide apart. For all the pain you were feeling was your ego losing control, and it may feel like there is now a huge, deep, black, gaping hole. But that is space that is left for you to welcome back your soul. So you can radiate your light into this world to help others start to see. They cannot exist without you. Without you, they would not be. To loving our differences, breaking open and running free.
Jesus, woman. That was amazing.
Love that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love that. Nice one.
I think we need an episode where you just read to us.
A little chair with a little blanket on, gather around. I mean, Auntie Lauren's going to read to us.
For the life of me, I could never write that.
So
I can't. So it's such a beautiful gift that you have.
Thank you.
Your words and your voice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if we were at school now, we would have to then discuss each.
Yes. Could you please tell me what I meant when I said
What
this?
I meant. Yeah.
Totally. All right, Kylie.
So, funny enough, I picked out the Power Animals
Ooh.
card deck by Regular Mayor. I don't know how to say that name, but that's okay. Okay. So, I picked out the owl.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh, wise.
The owl bestows you with wisdom. And what was really important is that the owl flies under the cloak of night. So what wisdom have you not found yet? It's like the hidden wisdom. And the other thing that I heard was wisdom is a combination of knowledge, life experience, and love. That's what I heard very clearly. So I'll leave you with that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Love that.
Thank you, ladies. Listen, this was, spectacular as always, because
And
you know what's really
unexpected.
funny? No. There is something to being able to just get with a group of people and you just flow. And that is such a gift to us. And I think to the listeners, because it's organic and there was nothing planned today. There was nothing on the agenda. It was just what comes up, ladies. And it's my favorite part of the day outside of my daughter, my lovely, lovely daughter. Okay, this concludes our episode, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in booking a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, light body activation, or simply want to say hello, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.